I have been asked to offer my thoughts about AOC and her actions as of late. There is a lot of buzz and chatter about her relative to her appearance at the Met Gala wearing a $30,000 dress that was lent to her, supposedly, going on an invitation of a complimentary ticket and wearing a message on the backside of her dress that was captioned, "Tax the Rich." Earlier today, she reversed her no decision or no vote on allocating funding for Israel's Iron Dome defense system. She switched her vote from being no to present. Conservatives and reactionaries continue to use her actions as ammunition to illustrate the so-called hypocrisy of the left, and DSA progressive types and liberals continue to go gaga over her like a bunch of trained Pavlovian dogs running cover and defense for every criticism levied at her by both the left and the right. What should we make of AOC? I personally do not hate AOC. I don't think she oozes evil out of her pores like the Bush gang or the perniciously racist influences that surrounded Donald Trump. However, I do not care for AOC either. I do not view her as left-wing or as a legitimate threat to any long-established patriarchal power structure that liberal feminists and progressives tend to believe. She is an influencer turned into a politician who Nancy Pelosi has wrapped around her finger. AOC is controlled opposition made to appear like a maverick who goes against the grain of the liberal establishment without undermining the liberal establishment. The conservatives who attack AOC and call her a socialist do not know the difference between their ass and their elbow. They are the same idiots who think that Barack Obama, who bombed actually socialist Libya into the Stone Age as a favor to the oil lobby, was a socialist because he didn't have the right skin color to be a true capitalist. And the same theory applies for AOC because she is not of the correct race to be a true capitalist either. When conservatives call people socialist, it has nothing to do with their economic policies. AOC never once advocated for proletarian dictatorship. She never once advocated for the state to seize and liquidate the assets of the 1% and have them redistributed to the proletariat. She has never once advocated for the state to seize private property as a method to curb capitalist speculation of real estate driving income inequality and the cost of living. She has never made any calls for the state to nationalize central banking with collective profit in mind. AOC is not a socialist, and anyone who believes Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nicole Malliotakis, or anybody else on the populist right who say that she's a socialist is an economically illiterate dumbass. And anyone who runs defense for AOC saying that, oh, no, she's a leftist, they aren't leftist themselves. They are also economically illiterate, and they need to stop feeding into the false narrative that the dumbass populist right terms as socialism, because to them, socialism is based upon skin pigmentation and not one's actual positions on economic structure. So let's get this straight, liberals. AOC, like yourselves, is not left-wing. Never was left-wing, and never will be left-wing. Just because AOC is a woman of color and power within a historically patriarchal, WASP-dominated racist country who offers vaguely centrist policy solutions like the Green New Deal as a compromise between labor and capital doesn't automatically make her or any of her fellow squad members leftists. Just because you are anti-Trump doesn't make you a leftist either. You're a bunch of half-assed half-wits who think centrist liberalism is left-wing. And let's get this straight, you dumbass, economically illiterate, racist, conservative troglodytes. Just because AOC is a woman of color in power within a historically patriarchal, WASP-dominated racist country who offers vaguely centrist policy solutions like the Green New Deal as a compromise between labor and capital doesn't automatically make her or any of her fellow squad members socialists. If Donald Trump decided that he was going to use the military to seize all the property and assets of what you term as left-wing corporations like Starbucks and liquidate their assets and redistribute capital to small business coffee shop owners who were put out of business by Starbucks, you anti-socialist idiots would support such a program because you aren't anti-socialist at all. You are just a bunch of racist and sexist idiots who label anything you don't like as socialist because they aren't white enough or masculine enough, even if they are centrists who wish to preserve capitalism like AOC. But then the shill rad libs will say, who are you to decide what is left-wing or not? What AOC did by going to the Met Gala wearing a borrowed 5-figure dress made by an African-American woman who dates a white dude who is an heir to the fortune stolen by the collapsed Lehman Brothers, by the way, on a comp ticket was a pretty radical left-wing act that got a conversation started. It's misogynist to criticize her. Do you know how insufferable and obnoxious you people sound? First of all, if your sacred cow Bernie Sanders pulled the same stunt, I would be just as, if not more critical. This is not about who AOC is. This is about what she stands for or what she pretends to stand for. Second of all, leftists, especially supposed leftists, who don't have the fortitude to stand up to Nancy Pelosi on controversial defense policies that have absolutely zero to do with the United States, would not ever dare attend a class-segregated function for ostentatious, vainglorious, decadent, dare I say vulgar, displays of self-indulgence and toxic opulence like that of the Metropolitan Museum of Art Gala. The Metropolitan Museum of Art was the historical plaything of John Pierpont Morgan to show all the peasants who usually could not afford to come to his museum all the art that he brought due to his vast wealth of exploiting those very same peasants. So AOC shows up at the economically segregated gala wearing a dress that says, tax the rich, while she wines and dines and laughs with the very same rich people who are responsible for shaping privatization policies that have made record numbers of New Yorkers homeless and destitute and who are very visible from across the street. This is not exactly in the same ballpark that other actually left-wing feminist leaders in New York City history would have displayed. Frances Wright used her money to buy a church and to feed, house, and educate the homeless of New York in the early 19th century. Victoria Woodhull, who couldn't vote, ran for president of the United States with Frederick Douglass as her running mate in the late 19th century, and she got arrested for it. Clara Limlick, at 23 years old, disrupted an all-male labor conference at Cooper Union in 1909 and single-handedly sparked a general strike of 20,000 female garment workers that lasted for 5 months. And a month before she died at 96 years old, she organized the staff of her nursing hospital where they struck in one higher pay. Wow! Angela Davis, while she was incarcerated, exposed the rotten and disgusting conditions that women faced in Greenwich Village's House of Detention and managed to get the facility shut down and turned into an urban garden. Dorothy Day, like Frances Wright, started the Catholic Worker in mind to feed and clothe and house the undeserving poor, and at 75 years old was arrested while protesting the city for levying austerity policies on aforementioned undeserving poor. all the feminists mentioned above would never attend the Met Gala or even, appear on the cover of Vanity Fair, even if offered the chance, even for free, because such goes against their core left-wing principles when it comes to actually walking the walk and fighting for the poor and the oppressed proletariat, and not performative acts to troll economically illiterate dumbass Trump supporters just to generate social media buzz and controversy. AOC is not in their league. And despite her hollow victory against Amazon, which still did not keep Amazon entirely out of New York City, AOC is not a leftist. AOC was never involved with any activist circles 10 years ago fighting income inequality. In fact, she was an intern for Ted Kennedy, which is not radical or left-wing. She never took any arrests for her beliefs, and despite her making racists and sexists uncomfortable, she has never been a threat to the political order, because if she really was a threat, she would have never been elected in the first place, or re-elected for that matter. The liberal political establishment of New York City would have given her the Vito Marcantonio treatment. If you don't know who Vito Marcantonio is, look him up. And she would have been rendered obsolete. In closing, radical liberals and DSA progressives, the same idiots who say, we need left unity, need to stop playing gatekeeper of a gate that they never entered in the first place. AOC is not left-wing. The Squad is not left-wing. Bernie Sanders is not left-wing. And you are not left-wing. Even if dumbass, racist, misogynistic Trump supporters say that you are, you aren't. Stop lying to yourselves and stop misleading the general public relative to concepts that they know nothing about, which is such a concept that you know very little about. You are not left-wing. Conservatives like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nicole Miliatakis need to shut the hell up and stop misleading their confused supporters about AOC working for China, which she doesn't, and being supposedly a communist, which she isn't, when she represents the liberal wing of the bourgeois capitalist class. That's all I have to say about that. This is Comrade Pella, signing off.